Welcome to The Voice of Putnam County Business, brought to you by the Putnam County Business Council, where we interview the individuals who are shaping the business climate and economic development of our county and explore their leadership ideas. Our co-hosts, who are also board members of the Business Council, are Nick D'Andrea, General Manager of Park Ford, and Nat Prentice, Principal of Prentice Investment Management, LLC. We'll get to today's conversation right after a brief message from our premier sponsor.
When Country Willow Furniture found people staying at home instead of furnishing their homes during the pandemic, the store worried about the loans that fueled their dramatic growth. But Tompkins Bank knew that solid relationships, like solid furniture, last far into the future. The value of a bank in your corner, the values of a bygone era. Tompkins gives you both, and the best banking relationship you'll ever have. Tompkins, your bank of choice. Find out more at tompkinsbank.com.
Thank you for joining. Now let's get to our show.
All right, here we are back on the Voice of Putnam County Business. Excited to be back here alongside, as always, my good friend and co-host, Nat Prentice. Nat, how are you today?
I'm doing really well, Nick, but it's so good to see you. We haven't, for one reason or another, been able to do this for a while, but it's always a pleasure being with you. You're a great guy with a great voice.
I appreciate you, and I appreciate you always bringing along a fantastic guest. And who do you have here with us today?
Nick, we are very fortunate because community journalism is sometimes thought of as a vanishing art, but we have the editor. Her name is Holly Crocco, Crocco. She is the editor of the Putnam County Press and Times, and we'll come back to that because there are actually two newspapers here, the Press and the Times, and Holly's going to tell us about how that came to be and all manner of other things about her. So let's bring Holly on.
Hello.
Good afternoon, Holly. How are you doing? We're glad.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. You met Nick before. We're just going to talk to you for the next half hour, and our hope is to give you an opportunity to tell our listeners everything that you want to tell them. I mean, for the most part, we are a business community organization, but we've interviewed government leaders, we've interviewed nonprofit leaders, we've interviewed business leaders. So we're covering the waterfront very much. We love the interviews. In the process, we get the chance to explore the leadership skills that our guests have got, and you would be no exception to that. But you best start telling us a little bit about Putnam County Press and Times. I might have said Press Times, but it's two papers, right?
Yes, it's two papers. So the Putnam County Press is what most people are familiar with. That's the free weekly newspaper at the grocery stores, ShopRite, Acme, Stop and Shop, the libraries, town halls. Usually you pick it up on the way out. It's a tabloid size. People are very familiar with it. The Press is the sister paper. It is the same newspaper. It's just simply mailed to those who don't want to forget to pick it up. So for a very small fee, you can just have it mailed to your house. So that way, so you never miss a week. But it's the same thing. We refer to it just as the Press and the Times. So the Press
and the Times. Now,
yes.
The Press is the place where if I was in a official public sector body and I needed to publish a notice about my upcoming meeting, it would be in the Press, because I understand there's some kind of requirement that says the law says you can't publish your notices other than in a newspaper where people pay something to get it.
Yes, to maintain your legal status as a paper of designation. The municipality, so like the Putnam County, the towns of Kent, Southeast, Patterson, Carmel, Village of Brewster and Carmel schools, I may be forgetting some people. They have designated us as an official paper, so they have to publish all their legal notices. And the way that you can become a legal paper, you have to have a subscription base. So that's the Press, because that's the subscription base. But the notices are printed in both papers because it's the same paper, just with a different masthead. So, but yes, that's how.
But there's so much more to you, Holly, than just being an editor of a local newspaper. I mean, you're a prolific and well-known novelist. Will you tell us a little bit about that side of your life?
Yeah. Well, that is an absolute separate thing. But yes, I mean, I've been working in newspapers, writing the news since I graduated college and years ago. But something else I like to do is the creative writing. And that actually happened, I don't know how much you need to know. After I had my son 7 years ago, I was actually in my postpartum era, and I needed to find myself again. So I started writing, and you can self-publish on Amazon. So I did. So I've got 4 books, and they are definitely not suitable for work or children. They're adult romance, women's lit, smut books, if you will. And it's so fun. It is so fun. I love it. It is absolutely 100% separate from my title as mom, my title as newspaper editor. It's just awesome. So much more exciting than writing about the county budget or the local elections. So it's a whole different side of me.
You published 4 books in 7 years?
4 books in 2 years.
In 2 years?
Yeah. The first one was written over many years. The first one, I had a kid, and so it was like it took forever. But then they just kept coming. So I guess I'll sleep in bed,
I mean, that's impressive. That seems like a lot in a small amount of time.
It's fun. It's fun. And it's just, it's something.
Holly, why, given your success and your output as a novelist, why in the world would you want to be the editor of a community newspaper? Tell us how you feel about that. And
yeah, so you know what, and I know it sounds cliche, but it is a labor of love. Like you don't do it for profitability, because Lord knows that's not happening. It's just, I've done it for so long. I used to edit. I started as a cub reporter up in Wappingers Falls for the Southern Dutchess News. They still print. And I was up in Hudson, just south of Albany for a little while. Was in Western New York. Came to the Putnam Press in I think it was the end of 2010. So I've just been doing it for so long, and it's what I know to do, and I do enjoy it. No week is ever the same. No day is ever the same. I get to dabble in a little bit of a crime story or a political story or an education story, or, so that keeps it interesting. It's an important service to provide to the community.
Yeah. How would you size up the local newspaper situation in Putnam County? I mean, we're generally aware of the other papers, but how would you characterize the industry, if you will, in Putnam County?
Well, I mean, local newspapers are dying across the board, and Putnam County is no different. We are the longest serving, I believe we are the oldest newspaper still in print, oldest weekly newspaper in print in Putnam County. Especially last week, the other paper announced that they were did digital only, as far as I know. I don't know if that's temporary. But I believe it was the 1950s that the papers began, or I'm sorry, the 1850s. The 1850s that the paper started serving residents. It was owned, it changed hands a couple times. The whole history you can find on our website, putnampresstimes.com, the About Us, the whole history going back. Marty Collins, who used to work for Don Hall, wrote up a nice history years ago. But Don owned it since the 1951, I believe. And he owned it up until his death in 2022. He was 92 years young when he passed. In 1959, he opened up a printing plant in Brewster, and he used to have the paper printed there. But it burned down. It burned to the ground, and that's when he went to the Southern Dutchess News. And we've been printed there ever since. But yes, we are the official paper of record. As far as I can tell from research, the longest standing free weekly newspaper that covers all of Putnam County.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, 1850s is wild.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, and it's almost historic. I mean, it is historic.
Yeah.
Give me an idea. Is there a difference between community journalism and then other types of journalism, or is it just where you get your information from, or just because it's only focused on our community?
No, I would say community journalism is an interesting animal because when you think of the news, New York Times, the Post, or Fox News or CNN, whatever, obviously you're thinking of the news stories, the hard news, the crime, politics, money, all that stuff. But with the community journalism, there's all the little stuff. So what can I do this weekend for entertainment? Where can I go to get my passport renewed? Like, that's a big thing. People are like, they need to get their passport. Like, I don't know. Do I go to the post office? Do I go?
Yeah.
So we get all that. Like the county clerk sends us, hey, I'm having passport Saturday every quarter. There's not a lot to do for entertainment, really. I shouldn't say there's not a lot to do, but we're not Westchester. We're not New York City in Putnam County. Right. There's plenty. There's the Arts on the Lake, Brewster Theater Company, Garrison Art Center. They all have exhibits and events and live performances, but they don't have a way to get it out, really, news. Some of them, they don't have, some of these are nonprofits. They don't have budgets to do, big advertising campaigns, whatever. So you can find that in the local newspaper and the Putnam Press. You can go to the calendar events and find the libraries. The libraries have so much stuff: defensive driving classes, how to apply for college for your kid, financial planning for free. They have courses for free when your kids are off for school for the week and you need something to do with them so they don't drive you nuts. Oh, they're having drop-in crafts, stuff like that. Then there's the advertisements. So if you need a plumber, a roofer, an elder law attorney, you can find advertisements for them in the local newspaper. You're not going to find that in the New York Times or in the Post.
Yeah.
There's even classified advertising, personnel notices for county departments when they're having their civil service exams. People, that's just stuff you don't even know to look for. Like if someone said, hey, I need a new job, I need to change things up. You don't necessarily think, oh, let me try civil service. But when you see it in the paper, like, oh, I'll go on Saturday and take the civil service exam. Just all that stuff you're not going to find anywhere else.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important that doesn't die.
So it sounds like it's a place that offers a lot of information for the residents of Putnam County, especially if you're new to Putnam County.
Yeah.
If you're just moving to Putnam County, which I don't know the stats offhand, but I can probably tell you that it's probably quite a lot of new residents in Putnam County that have never been here before, never lived here before, don't know much about it. Could probably find the information that they really do probably need to find, not knowing anybody.
Yeah. The calendar of events, which is just a page with just little blurbs of stuff, is one of our most popular things. It's so funny. Like the church is holding a tag sale. The VFW is having a fish fry thing. Just random stuff. People love it. People are like, oh, they can play bingo at the fire department. It's great to know that it's happening down the street. I live in this town. I can go there and it's free. That's just, you're not going to find that anywhere else unless you look for like a flyer, I don't know, on a bulletin board somewhere, but that's so.
And Holly, you're trying to, you're trying to be a newspaper for the whole county, not the East or the West, or in the middle. I mean, I've begun to be a pretty avid reader of your paper, and I do notice that you've got articles about things that are happening on both sides of the county, and that's admirable because I don't think you can find that in the other. I mean, there's the Courier and the PCNR, one doing one side, one sort of doing the other. So thank you for your willingness to try to cover the whole county. That's pretty useful, so that whether you're on the East or the West, you get the same kind of feeling that you could know what's going on locally. It's good. But how do you yourself do it? I mean, there's nobody else, is there, really? I mean, you may have some contributors, but do you have much of an editorial? No, reporting staff?
Oh, heck no. That's gone. And that's the thing too about how newspapers have changed. And I mean, even, so I'm like 2 decades now I've been in it. And people long before that, it started to change. But there's no more, like I remember being a reporter and I had an editor who was like the city editor was her title. And above her was a copy editor, and above her was an executive editor. And then there were proofreaders and fact checkers and people who called to confirm quotes. And that just doesn't happen anymore. So now it's like oftentimes I write the story, I edit the story, I have the designer put it in, and I proof the story. And that's how it's tough. And it's unfortunate that there's no longer all those layers. Just for catching errors, it's hard to catch. But we do have contributors who send stuff in, which is great, and also building relationships with readers, with parents, with community organizations, so they can send information. People say, hey, great grandma Jean is turned 107 years old. Can you come to the nursing home and take a picture? And it's like, I can't make it there. But if somebody can just, with your phone, snap a picture, send it, a follow-up, that helps. And then people send it in, and they like that they can see something that they took. They took a picture of grandma and they sent it in, and here it is.
Yeah, that's cool.
Boy Scouts achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. I can't make it to every ceremony, but you kind of groom some people so that they start to learn, like, oh, hey, I'll send in everything, all my events. And, it's nice. And then people like to know that their pictures got in, in the paper. The libraries send a lot of stuff, and they have artists that are going to exhibit in their foyers or their artist of the month, musical groups and stuff too. It's just, it helps a lot that people can contribute, and that makes it more of a community paper, because it's not just me. It's not just my style of writing or my whatever. People send things in. So that helps.
So I would imagine that it would be beneficial to you to grow that group of reporters, I guess, in a way, to send information your way that can be written about in the paper.
Yeah. Sports is another thing. Like, it's hard. There's so much sports going on for all the schools and all the recreational programs and stuff. So if we can get coaches or parents to send it in, and the more that they learn to do it, I mean, literally, they're taking pictures of their kid out on the sidelines. You get in the car, just click your photo, send it to me, email with your phone number, and I can follow up. It makes our reach that much greater. And then it does allow me to now, include the western side of the county more, because maybe I have people there who can help bring me the information.
So, Nick, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but does Park Ford still use print advertising, or are you all social? Or I'm not sizing you up for an ad in the Putnam Press and Times, but
No.
I just wondered whether you.
No, it's fine. So, we did get away from print advertising, and the sole reason for that was not because of our decision necessarily. It was because of the dollars that Ford gave us to advertise. They no longer supported any print advertising.
Really?
So Ford decided a couple of years ago that they wanted all of their advertising to be basically digital, or on a social media platform of some sort. So they no longer funded the dollars that they would give us to, we would put an ad out, and then they would send that ad in for approval for them to send us money to support those ads. But they got away from anything that was print related. I actually did make an argument for that last year to say, hey, listen, you know what? Print isn't dead. We need to bring this back. There is certain value out there that should be co-opted, and they haven't responded back on that. But I do have a voice coming next week at a meeting that I think for the whole region of Ford Motor Company that I could speak on that again, because I think that there are other dealers and other businesses in general, industries out there that need to get back to some of that print ad, because there is value to it. And, quite frankly, it's not generally, it's not very expensive. And it also, the only issue that people find with it is that it's hard to really read your return on investment on a print ad, which has been like that. But the same thing with radio, right? Radio's all different in that regard. And even some of the stuff that's online, they tell you your statistics that they are kind of fluffed, right? They give you a number that says, oh yeah, this is the amount of people that came into your store based on that ad. Well, I'm not really sure about that, because 2 of them are my brothers, right? I don't know if they came because of that.
So Holly, pick up on that, because we've got lots of people who are listening to this podcast, and more importantly, perhaps lots of people who will view this podcast once it goes up in our way of putting them up. What other message would you send to the business community, picking up where Nick just left off about the value of print advertising?
Yeah, well, so we're leaning into the new trends instead of fighting against it, right? I know Don used to fight against it and say, no, it's all back to print. Well, no, it is a lot digital, social media, internet. And so, we've beefed up our online advertising, and now our social media. So that way you can get a package, it's a package deal. So you get the print, you get the online, you get the socials. Cause that's not going to change. And, Park Forward isn't the only one facing that.
Yeah.
A lot of the smaller mom and pops, which is most of Putnam County, it's not big business. The first thing to go on their budget is their advertising dollars. And it's kind of a double-edged thing, because it's like, well, yeah, but if you don't advertise, no one's going to come. But also, if you only have so much money, the last thing you got to pay people, you got to buy supplies. You're not paying for advertising. And so, and there's also, there's business organizations, there's networks, there's community groups that have social media pages that share information for free. So sometimes it's like you're competing against, you're trying to get people to advertise with you, but they can try these free avenues. And so instead of fighting against that, we lean into it and say, yeah, we've got our socials too, and our online advertising, where we'll put you online, you can click out to your website. And the print is almost just like a bonus, like, yeah, and then you'll also be in print. But it's a hard challenge that we're facing, just as the landscape changes. But one thing that's nice too, and again, for the smaller businesses, is the whole idea that, like, you can touch your ad, you can print it out. When we do a business story, they like to, if I walk into a business that I wrote a story about and they cut out the article and they hung it on their wall with, in a frame, like, that's kind of cool. And that's just like another thing about, like, oh, it's the community newspaper, or, it's similar to, like, if they sponsor the little league team and they get a little certificate and the picture that they hang up, and it's nice to know that they're supporting us too, because we're also a local business. So, when people advertise with us and then we throw back and highlight their business, it's a relationship. It's a partnership.
Right. And you handle that too? You're the advertising manager?
Right now, I mean, we're always looking for salespeople if anybody wants to take that on. But yeah, it's all very organic and just full circle, because the more that I deal with people, the more that I write stories and stuff, and they go, oh, hey, I got this business. I'm like, oh yeah. And then they come to me because, we work out, I know what their budget is or maybe what their needs are. So yeah, it's I guess I do it all. I don't know how that happens.
Well, I'm getting this is the beauty of the way we do this. I'm getting message from our producer, Jen Marr, and this is the first time she's actually asked permission to come on, but
I'm behaving.
Here she is with that question.
A couple of things. Number one, I think you might be one of the oldest businesses existing in Putnam County. I really would love to figure that out one day.
Possibly.
Yeah. There's not that many that have been around as long as you have. So that's amazing. And then I just wanted to take a moment, if you don't mind. Marty Collins, you mentioned Marty Collins. And whenever I get the opportunity to recognize somebody in our community who does not get a lot of recognition, this woman behind the scenes, what she has done for our county, and her husband, his Honorable Judge Collins. But Marty works for several county executives, and she works for tourism, and she works for the press, and all other kinds of things that I can't even imagine. So I just wanted to take that moment to recognize her. I don't know, Nick and Nat, do you even know Marty?
I do. I've had Nick's too much of a young guy. I have had the chance to meet Marty, but I had no idea of the depth and range and.
She's an amazing, fantastically talented, generous, kind, loving woman. And Holly, thank you for mentioning her. So, and congratulations.
I took over from her because she worked for Don for several years, and she was so she was instrumental in setting me up for success with Don, because he was a hard man to work for. He was just, if you knew him, then you know what I'm talking about. And the handoff, like she held my hand through it. And then she was so good with Don too, because she would put him in his place. And he respected her, like, and she's still to this day. And I know she's still working, I believe she's still with, like, the Friends of Kent Library. doing stuff. Yes, and her husband. I think I reached out to her husband just for, because he's in legal and just for advice for various things. But yes, very, very good. There are a lot of families and people and individuals in the community that through like the decade that I've been doing it that keep popping up, and they're one of them. You're like, wow,
Yeah,
great.
they're amazing. Such a part of the backbone of the county for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So Holly, let me turn towards the current environment we're in. I mean, this is 2026. There's going to be lots of politics this year. There already is, but there's the national scene and, of course, the local scene's full of races and people throwing their hats in the ring and all that. How is a person who does as many things as you do going to cover the various elections in Putnam County? You going to try to interview everybody, or?
So honestly, a lot of times what I start, you got to start early because there's a whole lot of planning and coverage and how we can cover. A lot of it is through like questionnaires, like through email questionnaires to get the basic background of candidates, and then maybe I can call them and kind of wrap up like that. This year there's been talk of trying to host some debates with candidates, which would be awesome. Again, we'll see if we can make it happen. But it is challenging too sometimes, because when you're a small operation and we need to be fair and unbiased, and there comes into play like some candidates are advertising, like have advertising dollars comes in, some don't, and that shouldn't matter at all in coverage. And then there's, we don't have an editorial board, so it's like, well, I got this letter that's, I don't know if it's should fly because it's challenging this candidate, and then this person's accusing this person. When it gets messy, it's a lot of decisions to make. It's not just the coverage of the actual election. It's a lot of the noise around it and decision making. I mean, the decision making is almost like the hardest part. But yeah, it's just, it starts early. And it seems like it's always election season, not just in November, because elected officials, I mean, they're always, if they make a decision or a policy in January, I'm sure they're thinking about how that makes them look for their next run. So it's kind of,
and you've tried pretty hard. I'm sure it's going to get harder, but I mean, unless of course I'm missing something. Has the Press and Times been known historically as a right-wing paper or a left-wing paper, or have you been able to steer in your time a middle course for the paper?
I hope so. Don was definitely a staunch Republican. He considered himself an Eisenhower Republican, actually, if I remember. But and I think that back in the time, back way before I got involved in newspapers, I think there were Democratic newspapers and there were Republican newspapers. They were almost designated. Obviously, we've gotten away from that. Don was big in the political scene as a Republican, and so I used to kind of fight him on some stuff. And so I hope that we are middle of the road. I believe we have been for a decade. I'm happy when I run into someone and they say that they think has been fair. And I've gotten that, from legislators, from the county executive. And I also get, I don't always hit it out of the park. So part of it too is if someone says, hey, I kind of thought that wasn't fair because, you missed this or that, then I will correct course and try and correct that. And accept too, I'm human. So, but I think we are middle of the road. One of my greatest compliments is someone said, you're not a gotcha reporter. Like, you're not trying to get me in a lie. You're not asking me questions to try and make something juicy. And I don't know why people would do that, because I just want the information to pass along to the residents. So I hope that we are known for being middle of the road.
It's a tough task, I think, in your line of work, no matter what, but especially because you got to feed off of what you get, right, and what's out there, which and everybody's going to perceive it differently. So you have a difficult task in doing that, but one of the things that we like to do on this show as well is always discuss about how we can help you, any of our guests, and how we can help the general business climate in Putnam County. So if you have any insight, especially, if the business community can support you in any way, how would they go about doing so? And then also, how you feel about, I guess, the current business climate in Putnam County, and what your perspective is on that, if you have.
Okay, yeah. So you can always support us, obviously, through advertising, through, you can subscribe to the paper to have it mailed. Like I said, I think it's $40 now, and you get the paper for the year. That just covers the cost of mailing.
Mhm.
And also through, again, if you think you have, if you have an organization that's doing good things and you want to spread the word, or, certain events that you're involved in, you can you can be one of my unofficial correspondents and send your information along. We also do, when it's appropriate, sponsorships. So Putnam Service Dogs is an example. They have I think, in the fall, and so we sponsor them. So we provide them with a couple weeks of advertising, and then they list us as a sponsor on their programming. We have a limited amount of that because that doesn't really come back in dollars, but that's not always the most important thing. It's the relationships that we have.
Yeah.
So if it's feasible, we do things like that. So that's a good way to support us. Again, readership, connecting with us now that we have social media. I believe it's on Instagram, Putnam Times, and Facebook, I think it's Putnam Press and Times. You should be able to find us if you just search us.
Oh, we're running while this podcast is on. We've got a feed going on here so that our viewers are able to see your social media and Instagram presence and all. So we're working that angle for you as we speak, Holly.
Yep. Excellent. Yeah. And just becoming involved. I mean, it should be, the community newspaper should be interactive, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah.
That's what people say. It's not my newspaper. It's yours, so when I get letters to the editor about certain topics, and I realize, oh, okay, this people are really interested in the development that's going on the side of 684 or whatever it is. Maybe that might drive me to do more stories that way. Or if people, are unhappy with one thing, then I'm like, okay, that didn't land, so all the feedback too is always helpful. Yeah.
Good. That's helpful because, again, I mean, what we try to do is try to get that word out, not just through this podcast, but word of mouth or through some of our press releases, to see if we can try to help you out in what you're doing day to day. So that's what the Putnam County Business Council is here for, right? That's what we support. So absolutely good to hear that, and it's beneficial for us.
Excellent. Great.
Well, Holly, we're just about there in terms of this podcast, but we don't want to end it without giving you an opportunity in case there's something that you haven't told us about, or why you're doing it, or what's special. I know you write a column about your motherhood or your mothering skills, and that what's that column called? I mean, when I see it,
that's the Working Mom column, and it's really my mothering skills. It's more of my mothering failures is what it is. I call it a parenting column in terms of, everybody, this is how it's done, and I've got nothing under control. Nothing is fine in my household. My stepdad, he's trying to kill me, and I've got such a good response to that, which is funny. Of all the things, I can write a budget about the county of how many millions it is, and nobody cares. But then I write about how I couldn't get my kid in the car. I couldn't get him in the car because you get in, and I'll get people emailing like, "Oh man, I hate when that happens." I get great comments. Oh, that was my son, and now I'm watching him do it with his son, and I love it. You'll live through it. You'll get through it. But that's what I love, is that connection with the readers too. And not being afraid to just be candid and be like, all right, this is a messy one, but this is all just, if you were in ShopRite at 7 p.m. on Thursday and there was somebody screaming bread aisle, that was me, because my kid was throwing a fit because he didn't want to be there. That's I try to be candid like that. I mean, we're all here together. So, so no, that's been a fun change of pace again too, like to get away
Well, I for one have really enjoyed coming to know your paper. I didn't particularly a couple of months ago, but I've started reading it. It has a format that's different than the other papers in the county, and I'm going to encourage our listeners and our viewers of this podcast to give the Putnam County Press and Times, however, which way you want to receive it, free out of the supermarket or pay something for a mail drop. Then I'm going to encourage, along with Nick, we're going to encourage our readers and viewers to have a look at your paper. It's been a pleasure having you on. You're a lovely guest. You are a multifaceted person. We don't usually get this much talent in one person on the show, but we're happy to have you, Holly. And unless there's something else, we're gonna move on. Wait a second now. We're getting a message. No, everything's good. Everything's good. Everything's good in the studio. Jen, anything else you would need to say?
Just thanks for being here. Thanks for all you do for the community. And we're going to talk after about what we can do more together.
Great. Thank you for the invite.